Hey everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm Nye. Would have started on the next screen, but I kind of forgot. Kind of rushing into today in a hurry. I want to check to see what my bells look like for the day, and unfortunately, I have very little time to do so. I'm getting to this a little bit later than I actually wanted to. Good morning, everyone. Right now in Isle Deckney, it is 11:44 a.m. on Monday, April 13th, 2020. No news today, except that I plan to bring you another week of entertaining and informational broadcasts. This has been Isabelle signing off. Well, thank you, Isabelle. We appreciate you. All right. Oh, and it's raining. This is already a good day. I don't know about you guys. I love rain. I love the sound. I love the little patterns. I sleep to the sound of it. Just the rain existing makes me feel better. There's a lot of folks. I mean, it's definitely hard to do some of my daily activities. Oh, we got a gift from Elba. Your birthday present was really something. I never expected that any of my friends would be so generous. I hope you'll let me give you this gift in return because I want to show my appreciation. Oh, cool. Thanks, Melba. And KK Parade from Nook Shopping. I think I already have that, but let's go double check. Oop, hold on. Oh, we got an after-school jacket. Let's check out what that looks like. My dog. Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. My dog has this habit of licking at an empty water bowl when she wants more water. And she'll just sit there, just licking at it, because she knows that I will notice. Luckily, I have a water bottle just for her that I keep filled for when she happens to empty that water bowl. I have a lot of turnips. Let's go check to see if I actually needed KK Parade. I don't think I did, and if I didn't, I'll give it to a friend. Nope, I already had KK Parade. I'll give it to a friend. Yeah, I love rain. I mean, rain definitely makes it harder for me to do some of the things I like to do. I love to drive in rain. I feel like I'm one of the few people that actually, likes driving in rain. You know, a lot of people are afraid of that. You know, they're worried they're going to get in an accident, something like that. And there's certainly an issue with, you know, other people in rain. But I never had a problem with driving in rain. I drive a little bit slower than I would otherwise. I think Boone's out. Yeah. I drive a little bit slower than I do otherwise, and that kind of takes care of it for me. I make sure I have decent tires. But, like, the sound of rain on the top of my car is super soothing. You know, it's slightly darker than normal. Sup, Rockolo? It is me. I have a thing for you. You look like you could use an umbrella. Wait a second, is this a cherry blossom umbrella? Thanks, Nye. It's cool to be outside in the rain and not be wet. Here, man, it's a digital scale. Okay, that's not bad. Is he actually going to use it? That's the question. Nope, apparently not. Wasn't that important. But yeah, I love driving in it, and you know, the slight, like, I'm light sensitive. I'm one of those people who you know, brightness. Hey, Kix is here. Cool. Brightness really bothers me. Anything that's too bright. So, for example, I actually have a an overhead fan, like chandelier lamp thing. The overhead ceiling fan that has lights on it. Generally, and I actually forgot to turn it off before I started not streaming, but recording. Just that light bothers me if it's always in my vision. So darker light is good. I need to get some money before I can go and film that money spot. So we'll just kind of leave that there for now. Just that light kind of bothers me. So generally going out into, you know, into the sun is enough to kind of give me, you know, to hurt my eyes a little bit, give me headaches. Usually I go out with, you know, sunglasses. So the rain is a great way to go out during during daytime and have that slight, you know, that overcast, muted colors, you know, brightness is a little bit less than usual. What's up? Welcome to your place. I have a thing for you. What am I... So what are we going to give to her? I have a lantern. I have a sturdy sewing box. I want that to go to Melba. Zen cushion, outdoor bench. Let's give you... Honestly, you probably need an outdoor hat on a day like today. Whoa, really? An outdoor hat? This'll look rockin' on my noggin. You know what? You're right. I've been wanting one like this for a while. Thanks. Oh, and I get money. Okay. That's fine. Oh, let me go, I'm not gonna do that at the moment. I will, however, snag this bottle. What's in this bottle? What do we get today? Angled signpost. Okay. Let's go look see what that is. Is that the thing that I already have up? Oh, okay. Neat. I've got some stuff to make. Oh, no, I want to sort it by order obtained. Thank you. I still have to make the cherry blossom flooring. I really hope I have the cherry blossom petals. Ooh, the golden flooring is kind of hot. Okay, I got stuff to make. Yeah, the sound of rain is always fantastic. The sound of rain on the roof of my car is another one of those sounds that I adore. I don't know why. It just feels good. What's up, Bruce? Got a thing for you. What do you get? Let's give you... no. I'm keeping that. You could use some sporty shades. Some sporty shades? Want to see how I look? Oh, I absolutely. Yeah! That's the stuff. You know my style better than I do. Okay, well, we got some bells. Yeah, I adore rain. Problem is that rain comes with a couple problems for me. I can't walk my dog in it. She, among other things. First of all, she's afraid of thunder. Like, terrified of thunder. And that scared nature has actually extended itself somewhat to rain because she expects thunder during rain. Yeah, I made it. I did. Do you want a thing? You can have some bubblegum. You just handed me some bubblegum. Whoa, this really pushes my boundaries in a good way. Thanks. I don't want to be rude, but this is awesome. See? I wasn't rude. Okay, well, apparently Pietro's not into bubblegum. That's fine. So yeah, she gets scared during rain, so she doesn't like to get wet all that much. Kind of a weird, fussy little dog that way. So it makes it very, very difficult to do a walk during the rain. Kind of have to limit it to whatever I can get her to do in the, 2 minutes she's willing to be outside. And then, of course, just the normal stuff that I would love to do outdoors, so going for bike rides, stuff like that. Like, I don't feel like getting soaked. That's a great way to have, sores. It's a great way to get sick. So I can't really bike ride during the rain. Which, yes, that sucks, but at the same time, I can enjoy it some other ways. Now, having talked about rain for the past 8 minutes... Who is this? Oh, that's Spoon again. What's up, Spoon? I am looking pumped. I'm also looking like I want to give you a thing. What are we going to give to Boone? Boone, I feel like you could use a digital scale. It is digital scale. You're right. You absolutely love this sort of stuff. Okay, cool. Okay, well, you have fun with your digital scale. Enjoy. Happy trails. So, a lot of the times when I... monologue during Animal Crossing in general, or kind of any game that I'm playing where I'm just kind of talking. I have a habit of going after safe subjects, I don't want to alienate viewers, is part of it. I don't have any interest in, going off on a subject or kind of elaborating a subject or asking for impressions from you guys on a subject that kind of makes you guys it's not uncomfortable, because there's a certain level of discomfort that is good for people, I think. Discomfort means we're pushing boundaries. It means we're making people think. You know, discomfort is literally a statement from your body and your mind that what you are doing is not comfortable. And comfortable is just safe. So we're doing something that you don't immediately consider to be safe. And that's not a bad thing, because, you know, when it comes to thought, when it comes to, you know, sitting here and just thinking about things, right? Comfort is not necessarily a good thing. If you're comfortable, you're not challenging yourself. If you're comfortable, you're not looking for ways to get better. What's up, Melba? Oh, Melba has fallen asleep. I'm sorry, did I fall asleep? You didn't say anything weird in your sleep, no. However, how can you help me? You can take a sewing kit from me. Here's a sturdy sewing box to go with your sewing machine that I gave you yesterday. Thanks so much. I love that color. Been looking at things like this to use as accents in my place. I can tell. Oh, hey, look, I get more money. But generally, I find that again, if you're comfortable in a conversation, if you don't feel, it's not if you don't feel discomfort. It's just if you're always comfortable in conversations, it just means that you're not challenging yourself, you're not learning anything, you're not really bettering yourself, and I feel that bettering yourself is something that everybody should aim to do as a person, both in, like, learning skills, better conversation, better just talking in general. Oh, hey. Hey, Peanut. You're hanging out today. Well, I'm gonna give you a thing to make hanging out even more fun. You get strappy heels. I don't think you can wear them, but some strappy heels. Did you get this because you thought I'd rock it? It makes you so happy. Oh, it's a doctor's coat. Ooh, okay. I do love those. My dad was a doctor, so I'm kind of a fan. Oh, hell yes. Hey, Savannah. Yeah, we can all be here. And I'm going to give you a thing, too. Oh, yeah, I have presents for everybody. You get the patchwork skirt. Which, again, I don't think you can wear, but... Oh, patchwork skirt. Not sure I can pull this look off. I really appreciate the gift. Thank you so much. As thank you, please take my guide shirt. Oh, God, am I going to get thrown into lava? Let's take a look at that. Not 100% sure I get what it's going for, so if one of you guys knows what this is all about, you let me know, please. So the reason why I bring this up is that occasionally I'll be thinking of topics of conversation that I would like to kind of discuss on the channel, but at the same time, it'll be something like, do I really... You know, do I really want to discuss that on the channel? Is the thought that I'll end up having, because it's, you know, again, it's a discussion that is perhaps not safe. It's one that is likely to upset people, and so I've thought about it, and I've, you know, come to the conclusion that, you know what, that's probably okay. I am probably okay with upsetting people. And, you know, again, the big reason I think about this is that I would like to have these conversations with you guys. But, you know, part of it is I want to have these conversations in a way that we can actually discuss them. So, you know, not toss it over here. So, not in I'm going to preach to you guys and ha ha ha, you bet, you know, I know better than y'all. Y'all listen to me, you know, I know everything. Not in that. You know, I want to have this conversation because I would love to hear what you guys have to think on some of the stuff. There are things that it doesn't feel are safe to talk about in normal conversation. I don't know if you guys ever feel that way, but it feels like there are definitely subjects that people just kind of shy away from, and they're like, you know what, we shouldn't talk about that. If we're not talking about it in a, you know, in a political nature, or we're not talking about it in a, you know, in a educational standpoint, you know, if it's not in school, this topic should not be discussed. And I really hate that concept. I really do. I think people should be able to talk about whatever. But there is a certain... I mean, there's times and places for things, certainly. But there's also a certain, like, set of societal rules that need to be brought up when it comes to having certain conversations to make sure that it's not just a place for people to just kind of browbeat each other. And I think that's also the thing that is scary to a lot of people, is just that you're gonna bring up one of these conversations, and you're gonna start talking to people, and you're either gonna be, you're gonna be yelled at, you're gonna be, like I said, you're gonna be browbeaten. It's not gonna be a conversation. It's gonna be a one-sided nothing. Oh crap! Did not want to do that. My dog is distracting me. She's licking my toes and kind of moving around my legs, and it's making it hard for me to focus on what I'm doing. Good thing it's Animal Crossing, and not anything more potent than that. Oh, I need to sell a couple weeds, too. So, the thing that brought this up, so the, do we already have an electronics kit? I'm sure we do, but... The thing that brought this up is that somewhat recently in, formal paper, okay. Cool. I'll buy it. Paper. I can't speak. And school clock? Wall clock. Okay. I'm thinking that eventually Timmy and Tommy are going to upgrade, based on, how much I've purchased. I don't know. The reason I brought this up is that recently, in real time, so recent as to the recording of this episode, I think it was Idaho, governor of Idaho, passed a law, or started passing a law. I'm not 100% sure where it is in the actual legal processes. But the governor of Idaho started passing a law to prevent... I'm trying to make sure I word this exactly right. That prevent trans women, so those assigned male at birth, who are transgendered, trans women from competing in women's sports in school contexts. So that is, if you are a, younger individual, like ages 11 to 18, so it's, around that age, so you're in school, and you're looking to compete in sports, if you are biologically XY, if you were, assigned male at birth, regardless of if you're taking hormones, regardless of where you are in your transition, you cannot compete in women's sports in school, just in general. I've heard there were two laws. That was the main one I wanted to focus on. And it brings up the concept of rock and hard place, because this guy is, and I'm not defending him, so let me make this very abundantly clear, is that I am not defending this action. What I am bringing up, however, we have a thing. What did we do? Fossil assessment. Oh, hey, we have done 100 fossils. History-loving researcher. Cool. This is not me defending this action, because this action... Oh my god, he already fell asleep. This action is really alienating to a bunch of people. It's causing a lot of argument. People are very, very upset about this, because it is now basically a governmental action that is contrary to, trans rights. So this is a very big issue, and it's something that needs to be solved pretty quickly from, a legal standpoint, because we need to make sure that whatever comes of this, it's going to be a precedent for how, transgendered folks are treated by law in a lot of places. It's a potentially scary place to be. So it needs to be handled with a certain amount of care and a certain amount of... is propriety the word I want to use? I think the propriety is the word I want to use. But it needs to be handled carefully, because we want to make sure that whatever is done here is that everybody's rights are respected. Now, That's an important word. I use that word a lot. And I kind of want to define it just to make it clear. When I use the word respect, when I say I am respecting these feelings, the definition I'm using is to hold in esteem or honor, or to show regard or consideration for. Alternatively, when we're talking about the noun, esteem for or a sense of worth or excellence in a person, a quality, something considered a manifestation of personal quality or ability, acknowledgement, deference to a right, privilege. There's a couple of definitions. You can go look it up. What that means to me on my end, and you know, people's definitions of this vary, but I don't honestly think they should. What this means to me on my end is that, let me just check I have both of these. Ooh, that's different. Let's order that too. Is that, again, I feel that both sides have merit, and that's the problem in this situation, is that both sides of this argument have merit. Let me explain. Before people, and this is why I'm a little bit worried about having these charged monologues, not that it's charged on my end, but on charged topics, is because people are going to hear something I say, and regardless of what side I happen to step on, if I take a side myself and not just kind of get into the discussion, is that someone's going to get upset. So when I say that both sides have merit, and both sides should be respected, and again, keyword is respect here, we have two different camps that are coming at this that are both concerned that the rights of a specific group of people are going to be infringed. That a certain group of people are suddenly going to lose something because of this decision. And those two groups are those who are biologically women at birth, so those with XX chromosomes. I have to be specific about that, because that is actually the point of that particular group. Oh, hey, we got some kind of neat outfits. Okay, my dog is not allowing me to do what I'm doing. Sup, Sable? I have a little present for you, Nye. Really? This is new. It's some patterned fabric. I made it myself. You know how you can customize furniture by switching out the parts that are made of fabric? I thought you might want to use my fabric for doing that. I also made lots of different kinds of patterns, so if you see one you like, please feel free to reuse it. Anytime you're customizing furniture at a workbench, just select patterns, choose one you like. But it's not like you can use it on all furniture. It varies from piece to piece. I worked really hard making these. I hope you like using them. Oh, that's awesome! You know, I enjoy talking to her just kind of as a general rule. But, oh, hey. Is this... Oh, no, this is just... Okay, this is this. Okay, this is not what I thought it was. I thought that was which animals you're friends with. Is that under custom designs? Pro designs, okay. I don't think this is what she gave me. I think there's something else. I'm gonna have to go look. That's fine. I'll go take a look. Let's look at clothing. So there's two groups of people who both feel as if they're going to be they have something to lose in this conversation. So there are those who are biologically female. So, you know, their chromosomes are XX out of the womb. And at birth they are assigned female. So that's going to be one of those groups. And the other group are the transgendered women, the women who are assigned male at birth and identify female and are making the effort. Oh, hey, I can actually get the black full body tights I wanted. Nice. Oh, there's a kimono. Beautiful. We have bun wigs. Ooh, we got DJ. Oh, yes. I'm pretty sure I already have triangle. Oh, hell yes. Hold on. Wait. We gotta... Let's pause this very important conversation in order to... Yeah. Oh, yes. I need this in my life. Yes. So, there are those two groups. And the arguments on both sides are that the biological women, and again, I'm very specifically stressing that phrase, and I might be misunderstanding. This might not be the right phrase, and if it isn't, please correct me. I'm happy to be corrected if I'm getting that phrase wrong. But those who, again, were born, well, not born female, but assigned female at birth. Again, another distinction there. But those, those women are sitting there going, those with XY chromosomes, and again, we're being very specific about some of these phrases. I'm pretty sure I already have Doctor's Mask. Those with XY chromosomes, regardless of if you get, pretty sure I already have Bobby Socks. Let's get running tights, though. And I already have loafers. I already have all of those. Okay, cool. But those with XY chromosomes, muscles grow stronger. They can take more strain. So what it means is that in a sports context, those with XY chromosomes are going to have a higher maximum peak than those with XX chromosomes. And that's the major concern, is that by allowing transgendered women to compete in women's sports, it's putting women who were born with, again, XY chromosomes being very, or XX chromosomes being very specific here, it's putting them at a disadvantage. I was actually sitting trying to think of an analogy, and I was actually having a lot of trouble. And the best analogy that I could come up with, okay, we're gonna have to go deal with my inventory here. The best analogy I could come up with for the issue here is picture two cars. We have, and mechanics are going to get angry at me for this one, but there's only so much I can do here. Picture two cars. So we have my car, the car that's sitting in my driveway, which is my my Toyota Corolla. And it might have a sports mode, but let's be fair, my Toyota Corolla, its engine is not amazing. We have my Toyota Corolla. And then we also have, name a high-end car, a Bugatti or something like that. So you wouldn't put these two cars on the same track. That wouldn't be fair. The cars, have distinctly different physical properties. One is able to hit higher speeds, higher acceleration than the other. So it wouldn't make sense to put them on the same track. At the same time, if I then took that Bugatti, took everything but the body, so take the the axles, the wheels, the engine, and I put all of that into a Corolla frame somehow, even though they are now both Corollas in view, the now Corolla that used to be a Bugatti is still going to be a faster car. It might not be able to hold up to as much stress as the Bugatti body might have been able to. Give it all you got. You want reactions to your folks on? You got it. Oh, encouraging your buddies is awesome. Flex those muscles. Okay, cool. New expression. So even though, just because we have the engine in the Corolla frame doesn't mean the Corolla frame can reach those speeds anymore. It can't support those speeds anymore. So that is, that's a statement that we can acknowledge, is that just because we took that engine and those those wheels and so on and so forth does not mean that the Corolla can necessarily use them. So it's the new Corolla, this thing that we're looking at. But at the same time, even though the Corolla cannot necessarily use that stuff, it's still probably going to hit a higher top speed. It's still probably going to have better acceleration. So what we have reached is a situation where we have two cars on the same track that should not be on the same track, right? They are not cars that match each other. So it wouldn't be fair in a professional standpoint if we were talking about, I'm going to be doing this until we upgrade our house. We're going to be upgrading our house extremely soon, because of the, I'm going to be getting, oh, no, actually, I need that. Crap. I'm trying to think of where I was in the monologue. 1 second. I'll get there. Oh, these cars do not necessarily belong on the same track because one is simply better than the other one. I'm not saying it's inherently better. What I'm saying is that because of those advantages given to it, excuse me, by the fact that it has the better engine and the better, axles and the better parts, it is going to be a faster car. So the same thing kind of in the argument, I'm gonna phrase it a little bit differently. In the argument that we are seeing here, the same type of argument is being made in that what we're seeing here is that a person who was born with XY chromosomes is gonna have, better potential for growth in in muscles, in maximum speed and stuff like that. So sitting here and going, okay, well, a person who can reach a higher peak than you can is now going to be competing against you. And there's kind of nothing you can do about it. This is just how life is. Well, that's naturally going to feel unfair to anybody who is, again, born with XX chromosomes. What those women are being told is that they are now going to be put at a disadvantage for something entirely beyond their control. And they just kind of have to suck it up and deal with it. And, of course, that is a discussion that's going to rankle anyone. Being told, hey, you came in to prove your worth and prove how good you are, but here is this other person who has a natural advantage over you, and that's it. You biologically do not have the ability to be better at what you're doing than this person does. And that's it. That's all that this conversation, is. We're ending the conversation there. Now, of course, there's going to be people who are going to respond to this argument, not necessarily what I'm saying. But there's going to be people who respond to this argument, and they're going to go, well, what about you, Nye? What about you versus Usain Bolt? He is definitely better than you are. He is definitely stronger than you are. He's going to run faster than you are. Should we ban Usain Bolt from competing against you? And so that's responding to the argument of genetics, and assuming that Usain Bolt is that his genetics make him better than me in the first place, which they probably do. Let's be fair. My genetics lean towards squat slow people, whereas his obviously don't. That is an argument, but that it's also ignoring the fact that Usain Bolt put a lot of effort into being as good as he is. And effort is part of the conversation. It really is. It's not the whole conversation, but it's part of the conversation. So there's effort. But what we're saying is that if you and I put the same amount of effort in, if you are assigned male at birth and I'm assigned male at birth, we're going to be a lot closer. Just from that particular divisor. So that's the argument from the assigned female at birth point of view, is as close as I understand it, and that's kind of a major thing. That is as close as I can understand it. Now, if I'm getting something wrong, again, correct me. But that's not the only argument in play here. That's not the only... they are not the only folks involved. There's also those who are transgendered women. And on their end, it's also a question of kind of their rights versus the rights of others. Where on earth is the crap I was wearing earlier? There's my hat. There's my mask. There's my socks. go ahead and take a dry bag for a bit. Where is my... Hold on. Did I put it up? It's not... Is it in my inventory? Oh. Do that for a second. But what they're saying is that they are women. And that's the major salient point. Before we go anywhere else, before this conversation takes even... Okay, hold on. So Oh, I see what I did. But before this conversation takes any further turns, the acknowledgement from their side is that they are women. That's what they want people to acknowledge, is that at the end of the day, they are female. So what they're saying is that if they are female, then they should be able to compete against females. They should not be competing against males. It's not a question of physical ability in this case, it's a question of identity. And identity is a very large part of their side of the argument. So what they're saying is this is not a question of genetic ability or physical ability. This is a question of when we do the divisor, when we split groups up, you know, is it men's restroom or women's restroom? Men's sports or women's sports? If they are women, they should be grouped with women in all things. And that's the argument as I'm seeing it from that side. So the problem is that at the end of the day, once a decision is made here, and a decision has been made, so now we're more talking like, does the decision get overturned, and how is it going to be treated? But when a decision is made here, we have a rock and a hard place. It's extremely difficult to come up with a compromise, a medium ground between these 2 points, because these 2 points are literally one side saying transgendered women should not be in, and the other side saying transgendered women should be in. And the problem is, you can't really compromise between should and should not. There's not really a lot of good options. You know, we could say that, you know, there should be a new category, which is, this is, you know, there's men's sports, women's sports, transgendered men, transgendered women. So we could say those, you know, those are the categories. But this gives a problem to the transgendered women, because now we are once again saying you are not, you know, you are not a woman, you are a transgendered woman. You are different. Identity is a problem. And that's the, you know, and that's kind of a crux of the issue. Once again, we are talking about identity as a major issue. So the concept of a compromise, which ideally we would have a compromise, you know, that's something that I think, personally, I think everybody should want. We should want a compromise between these wildly diverse viewpoints. I don't know if this is going to look good, but I'm going to try it. Oh, you're not going to allow me? Okay. How about... You're not going to allow me to do it here either, right? Okay, let's plant it here then. I just don't want it... I don't want it directly vertical to the other apple tree. There we go. So then the question becomes, whose rights are more important in this situation? And that's a really scary question. That's a question that, you know, should keep any lawmaker up at night. It's not a question that should be answered quickly. It's not something I can answer in a 30-minute monologue, certainly, and I don't intend to try. But the question then becomes, whose rights are more important? Whose rights get maintained, and who loses out? That's the question that we have now reached, because compromise is almost impossible. Now, if there is a compromise that I don't know of, great. Let's go for that compromise. But if there is no compromise, whose rights get maintained? Now, what the governor has stated is that the maintained rights, those who are going to be, the rights that are going to be respected here, are going to be the rights of the, you know, those who were assigned female at birth. That is the statement that was made, and that is what's pissing everybody off, or pissing a lot of people off, not necessarily everybody, but that's pissing a lot of people off, is that was the decision that was made. But again, we're in a rock and a hard place. You gotta, we're respecting one, so who's gonna be respected? So now that I've kind of outlined all of this, and again, this is as I understand it. If I am wrong in some way, please let me know in the comments. You know, let's actually discuss that. But let's assume I'm right for a second, mostly for the sake of kind of continuing the conversation. So if okay, we gotta go talk to Kix. Let's go talk to Kix. But if that's the case, so the question then becomes, number one, how do we have a conversation on this? These are charged issues. You know, these are, you know, gender politics and gender identity issues are always going to be a big deal, because gender is a core part of identity for most people. Ooh, yes, mage's booties. Oh yes. Oh, I want those. But you know, your gender is a major part of your life for most people, and I think some people don't necessarily realize this. But it's something that you have. It's something you're born with. It's something that you grow up with. It's kind of part and parcel with your entire life, your entire outlook on life. So then the question, you know, becomes, how important is it? Like, whose identity are we respecting? You know, identity is a huge deal in general. Identity theft is a gigantic crime, for example. Everybody has a very distinct view of themselves, and it's kind of a mental map that you have. And if your external map does not match your internal map, it causes problems. And I'm not even talking about gender. Look at eating disorders. Look at anorexia. Look at bulimia. A lot of those are caused by your mental map of what you look like, or what your identity is, and looking like is part of your identity. Your mental map does not match your internal map. You know, and others have a map of you too, and the problem is the map others have doesn't necessarily map you. One example I can give of this is my dad. My dad for a while had no facial hair, and then he grew out a bunch of facial hair, and he looked very different. But keep in mind, a grow out of facial hair takes a while, so it's something that, because it happens over the course of time, we can kind of adjust our mental maps and go, okay, this makes sense. This is a change that we can respect and we can understand. But all of a sudden it got shaved off, and all of a sudden my dad looked like a very, very different person. And so the mental map changes. So if your internal mental map does not match your external you know, appearance, how you project to other people, that's going to cause a, you know, considerable issue. And these are not something that's restricted to you know, to just gender or stuff. This stuff, socioeconomic status, culture, you know, what societal groups you happen to belong to, what your interests are. We're all constantly kind of projecting something out, and then having other people acknowledge what is projected. And again, this is an important thing for lots and lots of people. That's going on the wall. But these are important things for people. You know, these are not small things. So when we talk about, you know, the situation, we're talking about two different groups of people, and a major part of their identity is at threat by how a decision is made here. So the question is, how do we, again, so had to redefine the issue just slightly there. But now that I've redefined the issue and kind of made it a little bit more clear, because I've had conversations with people who don't necessarily understand that. Because for a lot of people, if your identity is never at threat, if you've never had the issue where you have to kind of prove who you are as a person, there's a lack of understanding about how important that is. A lot of people, you know, have never had for any reason to kind of say, yeah, this is who I am. I need to prove this across the board. And if you've never had to prove that, like, you don't understand how important that is. And that's not a bad thing. I'm not, you know, going off on people and saying you know, you're a terrible person for not understanding this. But at the same time, I am going to say that if you're going to be part of, you know, part of the discussion, you do need to understand that you may think this is a trivial issue. Others do not. So having said that, how do we have this conversation? How do we discuss something as charged as this, something as big as this, something that, again, unless there can be a compromise, someone is losing out. And I feel the need to emphasize that, because again, if you've never lost a piece of your identity, if you've never had a situation where you're told who you are is being denied, let's kind of use that phrase, but if you've never been told that, you don't understand exactly how big of a deal it can be. So how do we have that conversation? How do we decide who is going to be the one that has to give something up? Because again, that is what is at stake. It's someone is giving up something here. So how do we decide who doesn't? You know, it's a very tough conversation, and it's not something that can be made quickly, easily, or lightly. And maybe the major issue with you know, with this decision is that it feels like it was made quickly and simply. Some of these issues, some of these decisions, they're being made by people who don't necessarily have a stake. What are you crafting, Chatter? Making golden gears. Ooh, I like the idea of this. Oh, I do want to hear more about this. But it's a very hard, you know, thing, because if the decision's being made by someone who's not a primary stakeholder, so, and, you know, by primary stakeholder, I mean someone who's directly affected. Ooh, that's kind of neat. Then it definitely feels like there's something potentially wrong there. So now the question needs to be, let's give you a Zen cushion. So if the decision itself is not being made by, you know, a woman or a woman in general, so now we got a problem. But at the same time, if it's a transgender woman making the issue, now we have bias. If it's a biological woman, you know, someone who's assigned female at birth, again, I'm emphasizing that so that way we understand exactly what I mean by that. But if it's someone who's assigned female at birth making a decision, again, we have, we're talking about potential bias there. So having someone who is male making the decision helps with bias, but that person should also be advised by someone who's both biological female and someone who is, you know, a transgendered female, that there needs to be that level of education there, which might not be easy to get. I don't know. Some people have trouble getting some of this information and talking to people openly and getting their information from them. The decision needs to not be made, oh, a dotted raincoat. The decision needs to not be made lightly. And the other question is, once a decision is made, how do we make sure people respect it? Because what's going to end up happening is that no matter which decision is made, people are not going to respect the decision. They're going to fight it constantly. This is always going to be an issue in flux. You know, the only way I see this particular issue calming down is when we get medicine to a point where those who identify female are actually changed in such a way that they are indistinguishable from someone born with XX chromosomes. Everything, you know, everything's the exact same. All the hormones are the same. It's not hormone replacements. It's actually, you actually have the hormones that your body produces them naturally. Your body is built in the exact same way. Your body grows in the exact same way. And these need to be medical changes that happen whenever. So if you transition at age 40 or if you transition at age 4, these changes can be made, and then just forever onwards, you might as well have been born with those chromosomes. Until we get, medicine up to a point where that can be done, we're gonna have this issue hanging over our heads. And for those who, it's not in your, there are plenty of people who this is not in their circles. You don't have a close friend who is transgendered, or you don't have a close friend who is competing against someone who is transgendered. If you're not in those circles, it's not something that you think about. A bunch of my friends, like tons, it's of my acquaintances, some, 50 to 60% of my close personal friends are, in the LGBTQ community. And of those people, of my total friends, a good quarter or a third are transgendered in some way. So it's not a small thing. I have a ton of people who are involved in this. Now, most of the people who are my friends, they're outside of school age at this point. So it's not a situation where this change affects them now, but it affects culture. It affects future generations. It does, even for someone who's not in school, it will partially affect their personal view, because it is validating or invalidating themselves. Even though they're out of it, they can sit there and go, wow, if I was in school now, I would not be able to do this. And that's naturally going to be it's actually going to be a thing. It's going to be a big deal to them. If you told me that, hey, you're I'm trying to think of a good identifier of mine that we could use here, but hey, you have dark brown hair. You're not allowed to you're not allowed to walk around because you don't project the right image. If that's okay, I hear the balloon. I do not see the balloon. Okay, it's up. But I would naturally feel bad. And if we, if we came to a situation where it said, hey, we're not providing, chess club anymore, something like that. We don't feel there's any value in having, nerds, in our schools, or providing for those people. I would naturally feel like, holy crap, they are. If I was in school, I wouldn't have a way to interact with people, like me. And that's the thing. For those of you who don't really have a friend who can relate to this issue, or don't really understand, just think of any one thing that makes you you. And it needs to be a big thing. So remember, this is not a small thing. This is not, I have an inability to grow a good beard, blah. No, it needs to be a fairly large thing. It needs to be something pretty integral to who you are as a person. But then think about being discriminated based on that fact, and that is what we're talking about here. So again, the question is, and this is me, this past 40 minutes or so is me framing an issue, and again, as best as I understand it, those who are watching, correct me if I am wrong in how I framed this. But the big question I want to bring up is not who's right and who's wrong, because frankly, I am not either intelligent enough or informed enough to be able to make such a distinction. So it's not right and wrong. The question is that when we come to these issues, and these issues are widespread, they are issues on gender, they are issues on race, they are issues on socioeconomic status, they are questions on religion. We've got questions on a lot of these coming up in the world. Just kind of as a general rule, they happen all the time. So the question comes that when we have one of these things come up, number one, how do we discuss them? How do we make sure that when we are having a discussion that we are being respectful? Because that's something I see missed all the time. It's a reason I will bring it up every time I have one of these monologues or every time I discuss things with people, is that respect is important. And again, using that definition I used, to hold in esteem or honor and to show consideration for. So if you are dismissing someone else's position, for whatever reason, you're not respecting it. Even if someone else is, look, I'm going to say it. And this actually actively hurts me as a person to say this, but it is something that needs to be said. Even if this person is a conspiracy theorist, even if they are a flat earther, even if they are a person who denies, or who, vaccines cause autism, if they're one of these folks that in flat view of the evidence refuses to believe and, maintains their position, that their view does need to be respected. Now, that doesn't mean they are right, and that's something that is, okay. What's up, Bruce? I could use your specific expertise with a little something. I'm in a slump and can't seem to get my hands on a Wharfroach. Can I nab one? I'll go look for one. Sure. Okay. Bruce has a Wharfroach. Let's go find a Wharfroach. So, the fact that I disagree with these folks does not mean that, the fact that I believe they're wrong, I'm going to allow them to make their case. I'm gonna give the same level of regard for those folks as I would for anyone else I would have a discussion with. I will listen politely, I will acknowledge what they're saying, I will attend, I will respond to each of their points, because that's part of being respectful. Now, I'm going to then start countering everything they say. I'm going to go find the evidence that shows that these beliefs are wrong, and we're going to have that discussion. And I expect them to give me the same level of polite listening and regard that I offer. But that's part of that whole being respectful thing, is to show consideration, to allow them to speak, to allow them to make their full point, and, acknowledge that, yes, these are your beliefs. They are important to you. And, while I disagree with them, I'm going to make sure that you understand that I see they are important. I don't agree with them, and I'm going to argue against them, but they exist, and that's important. So how do we make sure that people are, that happens? Because what I see a lot of the time is that people are not, they're not doing that. Like, just, done. That's the, oops, crap. I didn't think that fish would actually be looking at that. But that's it. People are just not, respecting others' beliefs, others' belief systems. I'm not a religious person. I don't believe in it. I think that there are a lot of problems that come from religion as a concept. But I'm going to absolutely allow you to have yours. I might ask you, where your belief comes from and to help me understand. But I'm coming from a point of I want to understand. And that, if you want to discuss, is it true or real or not, cool, we'll have that discussion, and I will gladly listen and we'll go along. But it's that respectful thing. We have to be willing to listen. Probably the button of mine that gets pressed more than any other is when I, am talking about one of my beliefs, not necessarily religion, just kind of a belief in general, and someone just kind of shrugs off or waves away the point I'm trying to make, or interrupts me in the middle of trying to make my point, because they believe that whatever I'm about to say is not important enough to actually allow me to get all the words out of my mouth. When I actually know something, for example, I had an issue in Final Fantasy XIV recently where I was trying to teach someone how to do a mechanic on a fight, and someone else who I acknowledge, this other person is generally better at the game than me, but this other person's like, no, that doesn't work that way. And I'm like, yes, it does. I'm aware that it does. No, it doesn't. I know that it doesn't. I said, okay, cool. We're going to go do it. I'm going to show that it does, and then you're not going to interrupt me next time when I'm trying to teach how to do this thing. Lo and behold, I actually knew what I was talking about. And so what pissed me off about this was not that I was questioned, it's that I actually knew this was the case, and we're giving bad information to someone who's actively looking to learn. I get bothered when I get interrupted in the middle of trying to, explain something, or at least explain my side of things, because that's showing a lack of respect for me. You're not even allowing me to finish. So if you don't allow me to even finish talking about my opinion, then I know that you don't respect my opinion. You don't want to hear it. And you don't want anybody else to either. So that, how do we make sure that people, when we're having these discussions, when we're debating these things, how do we make sure that everybody's opinions is being respected, they're being fully heard and acknowledged? Yes, in a lot of these situations, and again, I think the vaccines and autism thing is probably a prime example. let the anti-vaxxers make their statement. But we have the counter-arguments. They should be allowed to make their statement. Because when we respect each other and we make it clear that we do hold each other in esteem, that this is not it's also not personal. That's kind of a thing that that I don't think people realize enough, is that when these discussions happen, when we're having these arguments, this isn't a personal thing. We're not attacking you personally. We're talking about the actual subject at hand. And the problem is that when you have a deeply held belief, when someone attacks it, it feels personal. So the person who is being, who their belief is being challenged needs to be willing to listen, but the person who is challenging also needs to be willing to kind of, have the discussion in such a way that it doesn't feel like you're an attack dog, that you're actually, hey, I need you to understand that this is, incorrect. Let me show you why. Not, you don't know anything. Let me show you. It's a very different, very different feel. But, let me know. So we're at the end of our time together. Let me know how you guys feel about this. Have you guys ever had one of these discussions? One of these really, really hard, rock and hard places where no matter kind of what happens at the end of the day, someone is going to feel disenfranchised? And, what you did to make sure that, everybody kind of felt respected. And again, that's respected. It's not Snowflake. It's not, and that's important because people bring this up a lot. This is not Snowflake. This is not, you're allowed to have, you're allowed to have it even if it's wrong. You need people who are, in some of these positions need to come around. And they have to be willing to. But we also have to make sure that we're not attacking them. We're, talking about the discussion. But, how did you do that? And then when it comes to these really big issues, especially when it's legal, especially when it is government, when we're actually having a situation where people's rights are going to be changed, which is the situation with the with this current topic. How should we go about doing this to make sure that people are getting, are having their rights as close as we can to everybody having, the same rights? In a situation, it's not going to be like that. Someone is getting, shafted. So how do we limit that, or get rid of it entirely, if possible? What do you guys feel? I mean, this is a big thing. This should be, these are things that are going to be in elections. These are things that are going to be in politics. And these are things that are not going away. You're not going to be able to hand wave this and go, oh, well, that's it. That issue is not going to be, that's not going to be an issue tomorrow. Oh, it very will be. These will be issues tomorrow. These will be issues 6 months from now. These will be issues 10 years from now. So since they're going to be issues and they need to be solved, we got to figure out how to solve them. So what do you think is going to be the ideal solution to make sure that we can resolve these problems, that we can, do that to the best of our possible ability? I'd like to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. I'm going to go pick all my fruit and also make sure I open my gates for Bambi so she can go and shop. So yeah, let me know what's up, guys. I do really want to hear your opinions, as always. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.